Okay, so today is Sunday, 17th September 2023. So, yesterday I did a work on I was at a mechanic workshop where I did some repairs on Peugeot vehicles. So, one of the vehicles I worked on had an overheating issue, um, which was 407 with EW10A. So there were other issues the car had, but for the purpose of this video, I'll be focusing on the engine overheating issue, um, which was diagnosed and sorted out same yesterday. Now, when I started the diagnosis on the cooling system, so the symptoms indicated that uh, it could be three, three or four components. That is water pump, uh, thermostat, and radiator. So even though the well, head gasket was not ruled out, but I mean the main focus on the based on the symptom of the overheating. The main components that were being pointed out were these three I just listed. So I now did the test, the water pump test, also ruled out the thermostat. So what was now remaining was the radiator. So I decided, of course, the head gasket, like I always say, should be the last. However, based on the symptom, um, it wasn't pointing at the head gasket, but then I needed to rule out the radiator, which will give the same symptom, because overheating can happen in various ways. It's not just a particular way. That if depending on how good you are with observing how the car overheats, fan can do that, but like I say, because of the symptoms, so fan didn't even come into the picture. So I removed the radiator and opened it, and the radiator has for that engine on that vehicle has two plastic covers. So I remove the one on top, and the entire, you could call it hose, on the radiator were all filled with sand, as in blocked, completely blocked with sand. Now I know some will be wondering, how did those sand enter inside the radiator? Well, it wasn't actually sand, but rust that formed into sand, or stuff that looked like sand. It was that bad. So the car has been running with water for a very long time, and so it now rusted the entire system. What I mean system is not necessarily the radiator, but I'm talking about engine. Any part of metal that was inside the engine, or even the block, it was just rusting and forming particles. So those particles, as the water pump was spinning, even the water pump, remember, depending on the water pump model, some of them, the turbine are actually metals or steel. So what will happen, you now, as those water pump is spinning, you take most of these particles and push them to the radiator. And because the radiator, those holes inside it, they are not that big, so those particles will be trapped inside the holes, and then block them. So that was basically what happened. So there was restriction, almost like complete blockage of flow of the water from the radiator to the engine. So the only circulation of water in the cooling system was just the one that was circulating between from the engine block to the cylinder head back to the engine block, but it wasn't going to the radiator. The one in radiator was not flowing back to the engine, so of course it will overheat. Now, what caused this rust, which eventually led to blocking the radiator with sand-like substance, was absence of coolant. So, which is why I'm doing this video. If you are not using coolant in your vehicle, be it Peugeot or any brand, you are looking for trouble. Now, there are two types of coolant: um, organic and inorganic coolant. So, what you are looking at now on the screen are total coolants. So, this one on the right side written cool F, auto supra minus 37 degrees Celsius. So the cool F is a total organic coolant, while the one on the left side, which is cool tech plus, for me, I think is inorganic coolant, which some also regard as mineral coolant. However, Total claim that it has organic technology. So most like I believe what they meant was maybe one or two um what do you call it? Is it chemical or substance from the normal organic coolant that was introduced on this one. So it's more like to me, that's what I'm saying. To me, it's more like a mineral, but has some organic, like they use the word organic technology. So the reason why I believe it's a mineral or inorganic coolant is because of the recommended change interval. So the organic coolants can be used for a long time. They prevent rust, or more like they protect the engine from rust or corrosion much longer than the inorganic coolant. So the inorganic coolant are the ones that the older colors of coolant, like the green coolant. Of course, those who are familiar with different colors of coolant will tell you that green has been the oldest color of coolant. That I don't think there was any. It's possible there was a color before green, but it has been during the time of 504, 504, 505, 504s, and the rest. It has always been green color. Maybe blue at some point, but it has always been green. So those coolants at that time, or that green color coolant at that time, which is regarded as inorganic coolant, um, can only serve for maximum of 2 years, unlike the organic coolant that I can use for more than 2 years. So it can't protect the engine that long. If you keep using it beyond 2 years or thereabouts, it will start behaving like water. It will start doing exactly what this water did on this engine. It start rusting the system. So you don't want that to happen. Um, so Subsequently, you now start having newer colors, red, yellow, pink, and whatever. Well, now sometimes I get confused with the yellow. Looks like I don't know what exactly whether to call it yellow or pink. So I just because I don't know, but it just looks like yellow. but it kind of looks like pink, but I call it yellow anyway. So so this particular one, the Cool F total, the total Cool F coolant is yellow color. Um, while this Cool Tech Plus is green color. Now the good thing about the Cool F um, total coolant is it's kind of oily. It's not that kind of, it's actually oily. I don't know how to describe it. You know how it feels when you touch engine oil or rub gearbox oil on your hand. So that's how it feels like. So you can just imagine what it now does inside the engine on your radiator. So in other words, it's constantly lubricating it, so it won't really allow rust to take place in your engine cooling system or any components that water passes through from your engine to your radiator, the hoses, the pipe, metal pipes, and the rest. So that's the advantage of this Cool F. While the Cool Tech, it also prevents corrosion. Don't get me wrong. That's the function of one of the functions. It's not. It's anti-corrosion is not the only function of coolant, but I'm just focusing based on this video. It's about anti-corrosion, about corrosion or rust in the system. So that's what I'm focusing on. So the mineral or inorganic coolant also prevent rust, but because they don't last long, they are not designed to last that long. So what happens is over time, if it's just like your engine oil, once kind of wears out, then it start damaging. You will no longer function or do the work it's meant to do. So if it's engine oil, your engine will start grinding, and it's as if you're basically not running the engine with oil. Likewise, this mineral or inorganic coolant, if you exceed the recommended change interval, mileage, it's not that immediately once you exceed 2 years or thereabout, it will start behaving that way. No, but what it means is no longer guaranteed, so it will start deteriorating very fast. So it will start behaving like water, as if you are running only water in the system. So that's why it's recommended you change certain every for the organic. Depending on the brand, apart from this total, most users don't actually specify the year. They'll just tell you it's a long life coolant. Um, like this particular Coolef, total Coolef Auto Super minus 37C. There was no indication on the container on duration of change, but it indicated it's a long lasting coolant. However, on this Cool Tech Plus, it was clearly indicated on the label on the container that it must be changed every 2 years or every 50,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. So if your vehicle covers 50,000 kilometers before the 2 year elapse, you have to change the coolant. If it doesn't get up to that 2 years, then you wait on the second year. Once you get to that, you change the coolant. So I want to understand why some will tell you, depending on the brand of coolant, for the organic one, might tell you change every 5 or 10 years. That depends, you know. But the important thing is the organic one lasts longer. It protects the engine cooling system much longer than the inorganic coolant. There are other types of coolant, the premix and the concentrated. This Cool Tech Plus, I know people have always been making this argument that you're not supposed to use only coolant in your engine. It's just for you to add maybe a liter or two. This Cool Tech Plus is a pre-mixed coolant. In other words, it's more like a mixture of antifreeze and water. So it's a mixture of coolant and the water. I don't know the percentages of water and the coolant mixed. So it means you don't add any other water. You are meant to use only this in the cooling system. So you do, if you have water in the system or you have coolant in the system and you need it's as a expired per se and you need to drain and fill up with new coolant, you have to drain everything out. And when you fill up, it must be only this. So you have to buy as many container of this Cooltech Plus, as many until the system is filled up and bleeded properly with only this free, liquid coming out from this container. That's what it means by being pre-mixed. If you start adding water, there's chances that it will over dilute the coolant and reduce the effectiveness of its work. Now for the what's it called? Then we have another type. Like I said, we have pre-mix. Then we have concentrated coolant. So such ones can be, or such ones are meant to be mixed with water before you put. So in other words, let's assume your car takes about 10 liters of coolant. So you buy 50% of what will enter, and then probably 50% of water. So, well, in other words, you're now looking at 5 liters coolant, 5 liters water. You mix them up, then you pour in. So this coolant, it's not clear on the container whether it's concentrated coolant or pre-mixed. I've gone through the instruction. It was just showing ready to use, something like that. That kind of was ready to use coolant. So it's possible they meant it's pre-mixed. While this Cooltech Plus, it was clearly stated, do not mix with water. Do not add water. Use only this. So meaning it's pre-mixed. So but this one was not clear. It just said ready to use or something, that kind of was. So um I don't know. So, but aside these two products, if you want to use any other brand of coolant out there that you trust, so make sure you read the container, label the instructions there, especially those instructions usually stated behind. But most coolant that are concentrated type, you also see it stated on the front of the container, the label there, or you read through the back, the instruction, you have an idea. Like I said, some don't indicate. Some don't indicate. So be careful. The reason why I'm saying that, if you go and buy the concentrated one, which tends to cost more than the pre-mixed. So if you buy that concentrated one and fill up the system without mixing the water with only the concentrated cooler, I don't think it will be good for your engine system, engine cooling system. It might actually harm it. I don't know for a fact, but it's expected based on they did it in such a way that are supposed to dilute it. So if you add it, it might be too. How do I say? Uh, Not to. I may not cause the rust you are trying to prevent. I don't know. I don't think it's good. That's just it. So I don't know about this cool left. Though unfortunately for those of us in Nigeria, this cool left is no longer available. Yeah, total stations, unless maybe it was yesterday that I started coming in, but I've not checked. But I know as of last week, I went to total station last. It has not been available for over a year. Now, this Kulef, at the time, it was available in Nigeria, so are being imported from Europe. While the Cooltech Plus are being produced in Nigeria or made in Nigeria. Of course, they are still total product, but they are being made here. So that's why they are cheaper. Why the Cool F Plus, the Cool F Auto Supra, Those ones are important. So I think probably the reason why they stopped selling them because of the crazy exchange rate of dollar to naira. So I mean, if they keep importing at that kind of high price, I wonder who will buy. I wonder who is going to buy a liter of coolant more than 10,000. It's definitely going to make people to stop using coolant. So especially if it's not a concentrated one, so meaning that to use 10 liters of coolant in your vehicle, you are going to spend 100,000. Come on. I know some will afford it, but you're talking about business. So if only two people in a in a town can afford that kind of money, you run out of business. You won't be making profit. So I think it makes sense. That's why they are focused on this cool tech plus now, and they're making it here. So it's much affordable. Can't remember how much it is now, but I think about 1,000 plus or so. I hope so. It's been longer I purchased it. I know I still have 1 or 2 liters at home. So, they like I said, beside these two products, just check other brands you have. For now, um, I had an experience which I'm not sure if it was caused with coolant. So that's why I'm focusing on total coolant now. So there was this coolant that I'm not going to mention the brand. Um, that I've known that works well even in one of my cars is actually in the car right now. Been there for years, about 2 3 years now. In other words, it kind of looks as if it's an organic coolant, even though it's not stated there. But the texture or the feel of it makes it look like it has that uh, oily stuff, just like this cooler. So sometime last year, I changed a radiator for a client, new one, bought a new radiator, mounted it. So I used that coolant. Probably the one I don't know whether it was the original one or fake one, but it was just one of these ones in the open market. But filled it up. It's a new radiator. A month later, it started leaking. Um, Remove it. Of course, drain the coolant, but I didn't throw them. I throw it away. Fix the leak. Didn't replace the radiator. Put back the coolant. Mounted back the radiator. Put the coolant back. 3 days later or so, it started leaking again from another spot. In fact, this time, it now added up like 2 or 3 more spot of leak, as in, it was crazy. So, the one I did was I decided I couldn't, if I, even the owner wanted to even buy another new radiator, if that's the case. It was not available at the time. I discouraged him from buying used one. I just don't like used radiators. I'm saying it here. I'm not hiding it. I don't like used radiators. So I went ahead, decided, let's fix the leaks again the second time. But this time, let's use only water and run it to know whether this thing will leak again. In fact, at the point I even forgotten about it now. It's over a year. This thing happened last year. Over a year. Now, no more leakage. No more leak from any other part of the radiator. Because we are now into this water, not that particular coolant. So it now made me start wondering, could it be that it was that coolant, which most likely it is, but it's possible I bought a fake one. It's not this brand, it's not total coolant, it's one of those ones in open market. So I'm not saying that brand is producing fake or bad coolant, but it's possible that I ended up buying fake because I thought it probably is the same quality of the one I bought. That same product I bought about 3 years ago that is still in one of my cars, which is not causing any leak or any issue. So now you understand why I kind of focus like this Cool Tech Plus is basically in my two or three other cars. It's only the other brand that is in my one of the cars that has been running it. So I now use the Cool Tech Plus, and for now I recommend it. The Cool F for me is the best of these two products. The Cool F is the best. It's just that the price, and of course, like I said, I'm not even sure it's available anymore. At least for the past 1 year, 1 or 2 years now, sef, not even a year. So it's been long. It's been unavailable in Nigeria, which is understandable. So if you're buying coolant in the open market, you need to be very careful. It's not even just about brand. If you're also buying this total coolant, any of these two in the picture you are looking at, you need to make sure you go to total station and buy from there. Because if you go to open market in Nigeria to buy, yeah, it might have this total brand name, everything, but what is inside it might be something else. So be careful. So I've even recommended, I've spoken with the owner of the car, the one that had that radiator issue that was leaking because of the other coolants that I used. So he has agreed that we'll be flushing those that water, because I actually forgot. I believe he also forgot about this thing, because we wanted to test it for like a week or two with water before we now switch to another brand of coolant. But so some might be wondering why water in the first place. Yes, I use water. See, it doesn't matter how original coolant is. If I work on your cooling system, if you give me your vehicle to repair your do any work on your cooling system, I will not use coolant first. I will run the system with water. Tell you use this car for at least 5 days or thereabouts, to be sure there's no other issue with the cooling system that might require a revisit to that repair. In that case, you have to drain the coolant again. So depending on the issue, of course, if it's something that probably has to do with the fan, of course you won't have to touch coolant. But like I said, once I have to remove coolant, any work that will require draining the coolant for me to do the work, connecting it back, I'll run water. Warm water, just to be sure that I don't waste that coolant. If I have to go back again to drain it, to do, because as you are draining, even if it's 10 liter, what will eventually go back in will be less. Some will pour out, this and that. So you always, and sometimes you just probably will prefer to use a new one, fresh coolant, rather than putting back the old one. So that's why I use water first, run it for a week. So that few days will not it's not going to cause that harm. It's when you keep using it and over time, then you are introducing issue to your cooling system. Your water pump, usually the first place to attack is your water pump, especially if the turbine there is the metal one. Some water pumps have plastic turbine. So if you was there are some cases that I will remove the water pump. The turbine will have has there was no you will even see any turbine there again. That blade, everything will just rust and disintegrate. Pieces and go into the system, or go and the particles of it will just go and settle in the radiator. So that's why avoid it. Anything that will introduce rust on your engine cooling system, avoid it. Um, I don't know what else to add. Um, something that just crossed my mind. I'm trying to remember. So so it's now up to you what to choose. Total on, Cooltech Plus on. Like I said, another something that crossed my mind is coolant. When it comes to coolant warms up faster from cold temperature than water. Yes, I can tell you that. If you use coolant, your temperature gauge from zero will rise up much faster. The reason why they did it is for two reasons, at least two major reasons. One, to reduce your fuel consumption much faster, because at cold engine temperature, your car must your engine must consume fuel more than it should. It doesn't matter how new your vehicle is, as long as your temperature gauge is at resting at that zero mark, whether it's -10 or 10 degrees Celsius, as long as it's at the blue mark, that lowest mark on the coolant temperature gauge, your car must be consuming fuel at that time. Like I say, even if it's brand new vehicle, its consumption will be very high at that time. So the longer it stays there, the more it keeps consuming high fuel consumption will keep running higher. So what coolant now does is, it will, because it warms up much faster, so it will make it immediately to start warming up. So the higher the coolant temperature, the lower the fuel consumption. So as it's getting up, your fuel consumption will be dropping. So that's one of the advantages or function of coolant. If it's water, it will stay there for a long time. Eventually it will come up, but it takes much longer. So your car will consume fuel much longer than it should if it had coolant. Number two, one of the reasons why coolant is used also is because it warms up your engine faster. It also warms up your engine oil. As your engine is warming up, the coolant is warming up, your engine is getting hotter, so which will also reflect on the oil. So your oil temperature will also start climbing gradually, the temperature getting hotter as well, which is good for lubrication of your engine. If your engine oil is thick or cold, it's not good for your engine at all. The longer your engine oil stays cold, the more friction takes place inside your engine. Every time you start your car in the morning for the first time, or whenever your temperature is cold, your engine is cold, you start your car, there must be a friction that will happen inside your engine. Doesn't matter which oil you are using, synthetic, non-synthetic, thin, thick. Once you start your car first time, when your engine is still very cold, your engine will grind like small. Friction will take place. Then as the oil is now circulating and it's getting warmer, then it will ease out. The friction will stop. So as your engine is warming up faster, your coolant is getting hot faster, and so is your oil warming up also very fast, and so it will reduce engine wear. So you can understand the reasons why it's raining down the city. So you can understand why you need to use coolant. If not, even if you don't care about fuel consumption, at least protect your engine, because I believe everyone cares about engine long lifespan. So what else do I have? I think something else crossed my mind while I was saying this. I think probably that's it. Something else that crossed my mind as I was talking about this last point I wanted to make. So okay, see, I've done a lot of videos on coolant. It's not just about this one. So even if I don't remember what I wanted to talk about, I probably must have mentioned it in the previous videos I did on coolant, or articles I published on coolant. So you can always go and watch one or any of those videos, or watch all of them, then you also get more information. So I will recommend get coolant in your system. I can understand, depending, like we live in Nigeria, situation of things, you might be like wondering, maybe you can't afford to buy up to 7 or 8 liters of this cool tech to fill up your cooling system. of the vehicle. Well, I don't know what to say, but maybe yes, if you can't afford the 7, in that case you'll now be forced to dilute, even though you are asked not to dilute or instructed by Total not to dilute the premise one with water anymore. All I could say is something, even if it's not up to that 7. Yeah, it may not work as effective as it's supposed to be, but it's still better than not running with coolant at all. Because if it's only water, even if the other coolant may not reach up to 2 years, the one you diluted will not last up to 2 years because you diluted it with water, the premise one. At least it will take it a little bit longer than water that will immediately, or not necessarily immediately, but much faster will start creating rust on your system. So yeah, I'm not saying you must use only coolant for the premix one. That is the recommended. That's the right thing to do. But not having coolant at all is not good. One thing I would say that hey, I remember what I wanted to say. When it comes to coolant, like I said, coolant is meant to warm up faster, right? But I also observe not all coolant warms up as fast as the other ones when they are cold. So I could remember the previous total coolant I used to buy. It's actually green coolant, but in a different container. I think that's one of the older one. It's not the same with this cool tech, even though they are same green colors. So that one, what's the name again? I'm even forgotten. It's kind of in an orange container. Is it orange or red container? It looks like a bottle, kind of sort of. So it's not the same shape with this container. So those of you who have been using cars before 2015 will know what I'm talking about. So that particular coolant warms up, even if it's even 1 liter of it. If you add 1 liter of it to your engine cooling system, let's assume it's 8 liters. So 7 liters will be water, and you add 1 liter. You'll be surprised how fast your temperature gauge will start coming up at cold engine temperature. It warms it up much faster than this particular Cool Tech Plus. Yes, I'm telling you that, someone who have used it too. So that one warms up much faster. Only that is no longer in production on sale. I think, but that one also has its own issues. Well, it doesn't even stay up to 2 years. In fact, I don't even make attempt to use that one up to 2 years. Once you, let's say maybe when it gets to about a year, it start forming some substance inside. It's not even about rust. It start creating stuff inside that if you keep using it like that condition, you see all the hoses, all the rubber hoses that pass food coolant passes to will start to harden, start cracking, hardening. It won't necessarily leak, but if you press it, you look as if it's no longer rubber, as if they're turning them into plastic. That was my experience with that one. So meaning that you must be changing it often than the recommended change interval, which is 2 years. But in terms of warming up very fast, whoa, like I said, even just 1 liter, when you add it immediately as you're starting the car, before you even drive out very well from you see your temperature gauge start climbing very, very fast. You won't make the car overheat. It still maintains your normal coolant cooling system, optimal cooling system temperature. But this Cool Tech Plus, it takes a little bit longer to warm up. I would say it behaves like water, but it's not as good as the other one that has been discontinued in terms of warming up. No, The other one is much better. So this one takes a little bit longer. So you probably might not gain. I'm talking about Coolant Plus. You might not gain uh, in terms of reducing fuel consumption like the other one will do at cold engine, and also the oil temperature to reduce the friction inside the engine at cold engine temperature. So the best you could now do is use recommended oil that is not too thick for the engine, so that it will lessen whatever friction that will happen when the engine is cold as you crank it and start the very first time at cold temperature. So for me, I use it. Yes, I know that's it. Other people might have a different experience. I'm telling you what I experienced, and I still recommend it. It is better compared to the other one that I put that almost damaged or started cause issue on the new radiator. So there could be other brand of brand of coolant in the open market in Nigeria. I know there are quite a number of them that are also very good. Like we have Toyota coolant too. For that one self, I think it's in red color. There was one I saw one day, the one in a 1 liter container. That one is really the concentrated coolant. So you don't need to buy 7 liters to use. You have to buy maybe 3, 4 and mix with water. The only issue with that one for Nigerians is it's expensive because they are not made in Nigeria. They are also imported, probably from North America. So by the time you do the exchange rate, and the price will be out of the roof. So, but there are also locally produced made ones in Nigeria that are much cheaper. So it's now up to you to find out the ones that are good, that will not damage your engine cooling system. So, like I said, I just shared my own experience. So if you have any other good one, maybe you could point it out in the comment section. Anybody who wants can go and try it out. I'm not claiming I know it all when it comes to coolant qualities available in Nigeria. No, just that I'm being very careful. So for now, I'll stick to the one I know until I see a better one. So yeah, I think the Coolant Plus is also serving this work. In fact, according to, like I said, according to Total, it said change every 2 years or 50,000 kilometers, whichever comes first, for this Coolant Plus. So I probably might not need to wait till that 2 years to change, or leave it till that 2 years to change. But for as far as I know, it hasn't caused any problem in my own personal cars that I'm using it. Likewise, other people that I recommend that use this Total Coolant Plus, it doesn't cause any issue. It's just like I'm saying, when you comparing it to this full organic coolant, which is the Cool F, this one is much better because it gives it longer protection, your engine cooling system, longer protection from corrosion or rust. Okay, so I think basically that's it.